any woman that I have ever met to this day, I never talk about sex. Only thing I'm going to eventually get to is something spiritual and, you know, about being kind or whatever. But I mean, you know, most of the people that I know have come back and told me, say, you, the one thing about you is you never talk about sex. And I'm like, there's no reason to. If you don't talk about it, you can be about it, Steve, you see? And if it would leave some mystery, you know, you never lose that connection. I don't have no enemy. None. So they called me for the tour, went out on a tour. That was probably the greatest, most amazing, most lascivious, most corrupt, most crazy tour. I had a blast. It was a blast, you know. But I had did a song, man, before we went on tour, and Russell Simmons' limo driver heard a song I did on some guys, on some production I was doing through my old attorney, man, and you know, this attorney, so his limo driver went back home, man, and picked Russell from the airport, and was playing a song that I did, and Russell immediately was like on my phone, I need you to fly to New York, I need you to come here, this group, I want to sign them, blah, blah, blah. So that was the first, Russell wrote me my first $50,000 check on the spot.
This in the 90s?
This was in the 90s.
Jesus.
Went to New York, went to Def Jam, you know, Meth, you know, all that whole era, you know, hung out with those guys, did a publishing deal, got that money, so I had that cake to start with, and then a lot of stuff started happening. This was before we went on tour, so when we went on tour, I had, you know, I had a little something. I was iced out, you know, that was when Biggie and, you know, Puff and, you know, Jodeci and Mary and the Big Dobbs hats and, you know, Suge and Death Row and, you know, so I had some paper in my pocket. So I was going on tour, what you might want to say, caked up at the time, you know. And man, I want some country, man, on this, you know, on this song, man. I got this beat. He's let me play. He's like, man, just play some country. Play something like you like you got on a cowboy hat. And I was like, dun 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 dun. Na 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 down 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 down.
Yeah.
Stop it! Stop the music! Stop the music! What? Man, it was for a remix for SWV. No, it was Can't Sleep remix for Braxton. And he said, wait, hold on, play that again. So I recorded it. Now, if you know music, you know that was a line that I wrote. Now, credit I should deserve, but I didn't worry about that because, you know, you give up something to get into something. So I knew what that would afford me, but that was in about 9 songs. While it was happening, you know, the background singers and the folk, and then they came in the room like, who is that? What he doing? You know, who is this dude? Who is this? Well, so when I came out on tour, you know, it was kind of like there were some things that preceded me before I got there. You know, we had already established this supposedly connection. You know, I remember one time, this particular, you know, God pulled me in the stands and was just like, man, I need you to pray for me, man, because these demons, I got a demon, man, you know, for these young girls, you know what I'm saying, and I don't know what to do about it, man, because I love them, man, I love them.
Wow.
And we prayed.
Wow. He was conscious that
he was
something
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they always know.
Wow.
You know, they always know. We sincerely prayed. Ask the Lord to, you know what I'm saying, break that, you know what I'm saying, and you know, so we really, you know, had a real, you know, close, you know, relationship, but it just was just weird being from Chicago. another great story on that particular tour. You know, Biggie, you know, and Junior Mafia had went out with us off season. You know, we went to Canada, and I remember, and I know there was no, I smoked, you know, smoked cigarettes, you know what I'm saying, and then sell menthol was illegal. Yeah. So I brought cigarettes, some packs over there with me. Yeah. So one of the coolest times, man, was Biggie, we established a relationship because he smoked, him and Lil C smoked, and I was the only one that had Newports. Right. And so he used to ask, where's Steve? So me and him actually used to smoke before every show 2-3 times a day, because he called me, and him and C. So we would sit around and we would smoke cigarettes. Like, that happened. That was amazing. And then the next message was, the next rule was, we are not allowed to go and watch Biggie's show before our show, because they supposed to watch us. We're not supposed to be watching them.
Is that real?
That's really happened. Time they call me back by myself, they start picking on me, you know what I'm saying? You know, we feel like, you know, when you wear your hats and your gold chains, you know, and your jerseys, you know, that you kind of upstaging the artist, and we feel that you should bring it down, you know. So, you know, I put on more shit, pinky rings and because I'm like, come on, man, you know what I'm saying? This is, you know what I'm saying?
Let me live.
Yeah, I'm gonna live. I'm gonna do it as best, simple, easy as I can. I remember one time, man, went over, played, man, we hadn't been paid for a few weeks. And I guess because they thought we were overseas, that we didn't need our money. So morale in the band was going down. I went and found guys in the room, everybody, background singers, they want their money and they not going on stage tonight and this and that. I'm like, why don't we just go talk? Somebody go talk to him. Yeah. No, we not going to deal with it. I was like, hold on 1 minute. I went to their room. Now, don't go down there, man. Don't bother, man. I'm trying to tell you, man, you're going to get fired and this and that. Get fired? Like, what? That's a man, like, you know what I'm saying? He deserves to know where his morale of his band is, you know, so I'll knock on the door, you know what I'm saying? Yo, what's up, man? Hey, man, listen, nobody's been paid for 3 weeks. I'm letting you know, it's mutiny going on. I think you should know, and I think, you know, y'all ain't been paid. Come on, man. You know, I knew he knew, but, man, I can't believe you mean to tell me they ain't paid y'all, man, in all this time. All this time, they ain't paid you, said all this time. Gave us our money. Right? Yeah. Right. Man, give me 1 sec, give me 5 minutes, like 10 minutes, we got a call, everybody go up to this room, they start writing checks. Oh, wow. This particular manager wait to sign mine at the end. Look at me, you motherfucker, you, I can't stand your bitch ass. Really? It's like Stephen Huff. Yeah, make sure that's right. Right. Give me my money. Yeah. So that next year, I ran into a guy named Eric Payton who was a real close friend of R.Kelly's, and he had this artist named Avant from Cleveland. I don't know what it was with me in Cleveland, 116 complete, you know what I'm saying? And he played, I saw him on the corner of Michigan and Ohio, right where the big gap is. He pulled over, man, and he played this guy, and I was like, I like his voice. Demo was terrible, you know. It's like, man, this demo, you know. I said, bro, man, I can hear past all of that. Let me, you know. Said, call him. He called him on the phone. I said, yo, man, I'm listening to your guy playing, you know, your stuff, man. I think you dope. You ought to come to town, man. I'll do a couple joints on you. See what happens. Oh, wow, bro, really? I said, I'm gonna give you a call. We're gonna write over the phone. Yeah. So separated and I forget the other song, but we wrote those over the phone. Wow. So we had a vibe, idea, melody, and I did the tracks. He came to town. We cut these songs. Peter Mokran, who called me initially to play, mixed them. He's like, man, he was living in LA at the time. He's like, I'm gonna fly home on Christmas. We booked out Streeterville, and he mixed those songs for free. Yeah. But at that time, I was just, you know, that was like my first interest into, like, you know, doing R&B. And we did those songs, man, and we took it to at the time, you know, GCI, and when they heard it, they just started playing it, and I remember it was like the top 8 at 8, and we got on that, and then the next week it was 2, and the next week it was number 1. Wow. And from that point, you know, they went into heavy rotation, and I was getting in the car hearing my song come on. Man, your song, you heard your song. And I was never really, you know, I was excited, but it was very quiet, very still, like, excitement. But I was like, wow, that was not hard.
Yeah.
So I start booking Battery Studios out of my pocket every day.
Nice.
So I like blocked it out. So all the money that I had been making, I had just started pouring it in to block this studio. It was a lot of money. You remember back then it was like $2,500 a day to book a studio, and I had the studio for a whole month out of pocket. And I said, well, shit, we need to start working on the album. And we start working on the album, man. And what happened was the engineer Peter moved to LA. When he went to LA, a gopher from Magic Johnson heard the song, asked for the tape. He went back to work. Magic Johnson comes into work at 6:30 in the morning, and he's in the office early, and he got it up loud. And Magic was like, "Who is that? What is that? Who is that?" Oh, yo, it's this guy. Now, mind you, we went to every label. Every label was about to sign him, but so and so had already heard him. I ain't gonna say no name.
Okay.
And the calls would go, we'd have home number, office number, fax number, and then the next day they didn't want to talk to us.
Wow.
Every label.
Wow.
Russell included, every single label. And MCA wanted to sign us, and the next week it was like everything changed. Somebody was putting in calls, you know.
Absolutely.
So we got Tevin Campbell, Mary, we don't really need it. You know, he sounds like, you know, R.Kelly and blah, blah, blah. Well, what happened, they had just did a label deal with Magic Johnson Music. Magic comes in a week later, and I got my first artist, and that's how we got on.
Wow, through Magic Johnson.
Through Magic Johnson. So they refused to sign him and ended up signing him because Magic wanted to sign him. He on all my voicemail, emails, everything. We flew to LA, whatever, picked us up in the Continental with the top drop, took us to his office. We kicking it, running around. He telling me about business, how to do this, how to negotiate, all of this, all off of this music thing. Man, music is gonna forever be the equalizer.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying, to life.
Yeah.
And all from an assistant just playing the music, you know what I'm saying? But this is years and years and years of studio time, songs, terrible songs, losing files, losing this, that, but continuing to keep going, and then going in my pocket and putting some skin in the game, and believing that the same thing it takes today to get in the game is you find an artist, one artist that you gel with and that you vibe with, and you begin to develop a sound with him or her, and you just keep going until you land that person a deal, or now go viral, or whatever it is. But at that time, you know, it was Avant. And I had a crib in Indianapolis, and I met, someone introduced me to Keke Wyatt. And so I met her family, and she could sing. And you know, imagine hearing her singing like that then. Nobody knew about her, about this girl. And I told her and her mother, I said, if it take me my life, I'm gonna see to it that the world hears you.
Really?
Yeah, so we came out with Separated with Avant, and I put her on the remake of My First Love on his second single, introduced her off of the back of Avant.
That was you?
That was me.
Jesus.
And then MCA signed her. Her album went platinum. And that's how I introduced, that was my introduction to not artists that were established. You know, Timberland had an Aaliyah that was already, I mean, I'm not meaning anything by that, but I mean straight from the dirt, you know what I'm saying, straight out the mud. You know, coming from here in Chicago, I was able to establish these two artists. And Avant went platinum eventually, and then went multi-platinum, and then Keke came in, I brought her in, and Randy Jackson, you know, from American Idol, and Journey as a bass player. We got really close, man. All my records were in the black. Everybody was in the red. Wow. I stayed in the black because I did the whole album, came in under budget, so when them records hit, I got my dough immediately.
Wow.
So God always was good. He always been good. So you know, today they talk about followers and how many followers you got on social media. Before social media was out, I had 20 million followers.
Yeah.
Because they're on those records.
Yeah.
And so today, I'm trying to get followers. I don't know, but you know, I figure it out really. But I mean, my followers is me following my footsteps to the mailbox, you know, every quarter. And that will be for eternity. That will never end. So this is not just for my kids. This is for generations, and actually until Jesus come back, because music never ends. So it's just been a beautiful, God has just been really good. But that's how I got in it, you know. And when I did Joe, I wrote a song for Joe called Treat Her Like a Lady, and that was in his heyday right after I Wanna Know. And the president of Jive, man, he heard that record, man, and he called me personally, and he said, this is the most incredible record I have ever heard, Steven. You know, they were from whatever. And he had me come, you know, I came in there, Teddy Riley did the whole album. I was the last song and ended up being the first single.
Wow.
So I'm in the studio at Battery with Teddy, and he playing his shit, man, and that shit was, of course, you know, was smacking, and we have respect. I had done tour with him for like about a couple shows or whatever, so we knew one another. He's like, man, that song you wrote is, man, I was just so humble, man. Ends up being the first single. You know, I would cut my demos, so I get on there and sing, tell me when was the last time you brought her roses home from work? Yeah. Tell me when was the last time you rubbed her feet when she said they hurt? In that time, studios started taking, I was paying that money at Battery. And I went to the president and I said, we said, yeah, we're going to keep New York and London, but we're going to close Nashville, Chicago. I was like, don't close that studio, sell it to me. Battery. He said, you want me to sell Battery to you? You're funny. I hear you, Steve. I hear you. See, we went on, whatever. The next day I woke up to come back. We finished the song, Legal Calls. Said, you need to be down at the office at Jive at 7 a.m. They want to have a conversation with you. I go in there. They got contract, everything set out. Well, I thought about what you said. Well, I want you to have that studio.
Wow.
What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to agree. I'm going to give you 6 months to pay it off. But what I'm going to do is sell it to you for $500,000, $500,000. But I'm going to pay half. And I'm going to pay your staff for 6 months. You got 6 months to pay it off.
$250,000. And he was paying your staff whole time?
That whole time, and he paid half and gave me a publishing deal. And that's how I paid that studio off. I paid it off in 6 months.
Jeez, and that was your joint?
And that was my joint.
Wow.
Now that was when, you know, Kale started tearing up the studio because I now owned it.
Oh, really?
This is when I would go downstairs and it was henchmen outside waiting for me in the parking lot, and the engineer would go to have a smoke and come out, man, I just saw 6 cars. It was like R.Kelly and his like, what's going on? Like, whatever, you know, they were sending people there, hopping out of bushes, all types of, you ain't getting the studio because we buying the studio. I was like, I own the studio. Wow. So they were going off of hearsay trying to shake me down, but I had already paid for it.
Right, it was your...
You know, I'm excited to see Jesus, but he's not in the rush. You know, so while we're here, we want to fulfill and we want to do everything that God puts in our heart to do.
Right.
And so many people is worrying about God's will, but God's will is what you want to do His way. And so I just feel like unstoppable. I feel like no one can stop me from doing something that God puts in my heart to do. Because if you have a passion for it, I just believe you just keep going. Yeah, man, we've been blessed, man. That church is like a rehearsal, man. It's rehearsed, God's rehearsal for us to go and take that message to the world.
Brother.
You know what I'm saying?